It could be another 2-3 weeks. But Chuck, you had a visceral reaction to this.
Looked like me and Shaq had a baby. That's what they gonna do. I just look like I quit. I gotta get.
Like, oh man,
What it look like?
like me and you had a baby. God dang, this dude, he eat good in New Orleans.
Word about Chico.
Let's go. Open it up with the Inside NBA TNT crew. Chuck, Shaq,
Have you
and
seen
Fool,
that?
as
Have you
always.
seen that thread? I would have to say.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you
have
did.
seen the thread. Yeah. I actually sent it to our buddy Brett earlier today. Too good, man. Like Chuck truly is probably the funniest dude on TV. Definitely, in my opinion, the funniest dude in sports. We got to appreciate it. You have to imagine he's not doing this forever. We're lucky to have one of these series on TNT and to have that crew every other night. We get it tonight, obviously. But guys, conference finals, happy hour hoops, as always, Dunny and Jake here to give you the rundown on what's hot in the NBA. We got Miami, Boston at 2-2. Unfortunately, Golden State and the Dallas Mavericks are 3-0 in favor of Golden State. Jake, where do you want to start here today?
Yeah, I jumped the gun. We're starting with your Celtics and Heat. We'll do the preview at the end here for tonight. This is, as we were talking about before, like it feels like such a weird series with just how much it's been, like the swings and everything. And you mentioned the first quarters, which the last two games have just been so bizarre. But it just feels like these two teams are so evenly matched defensively that when really one of them is able to crank up what they want to do, and both, let's give credit to Spoelstra and Ime because the adjustments throughout the entire series, especially defensively, have been extremely noticeable and have had huge impacts on these swings. They just feel so evenly matched that like it's not turning into good games. Like it's not a stylistic battle, so it's one after another. It's just one team imposing their will better than the other team a night to night basis. And it really comes down to like intensity and things like that we can't measure like in any sort of way. And that's how we're we're in a best of three now. Like there was no doubt in my mind we'd end up with a best of three at some point. It felt like this was going to be 2-2, get it coming out of the four even before the series started. So how do you feel after last night's game? I'm sure a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more zen. And looking at it as a best of three, I feel like you got to be thinking everybody is probably favoring the Celtics to win 2 out of these next 3.
Yeah, that's definitely what I've been hearing most of. I mean, I remain confident as a Celtics fan. Last night was a big sigh of relief. I also felt fairly confident. I didn't think we were going to drop 2 at home. My biggest gripe was just the amount of people that were, and I think it was mostly Boston fans, but that were just like, after we dropped 1 at home, like just counting us out after that. They're like, can't protect home court. Tatum has this horrible game. And yeah, I mean, it was disappointing. And that game was just madness from the jump. I mean, for the Heat to get out to such a big lead like that, Butler not to play in the second half, Hero gets banged up. Obviously, Smart and Tatum both banged up in that game. And, I mean, like we said, it's just kind of been chaos this whole series. But last night, the Celtics grab a 20-point win. It was never in doubt from the start. I mean, we were talking about before we hopped on, 18-1 off rip, which is just a crazy score to see when you're watching playoff basketball. And, after seeing last night, it's all said and done. Plus, of course, we have to, give Jason Tatum his props for the bounce back game. He's so famous for those. He had 9 points in game 3, comes back and has 31 last night in game 4, shot 50% from the field, added a couple blocks. I don't know about you, but I think Jimmy Butler was laboring last night. I think his knees.
No,
I think
sure.
his knees bothering him more than people are alluding to right now.
It was really alarming when they took him out of that second half, even with the fact that like the game was kind of out of hand. Even though the Celtics literally got it to within 1, it really wasn't out of hand. But that was like Jimmy Butler getting taken out of a playoff game, regardless of the score, is that's worth noting in itself. But yeah, I'm agree with you. Like he did not look right at all last night. There was one instance right at the beginning of the game where he tried to take Robert Williams to the hoop, which first of all is a mistake that we've seen so many guards and wings try to do this year to no avail. But obviously he thought that he was gonna he thinks that he's gonna win that matchup or whatever, and he just had there was no burst. Like he didn't even get like an inch of position on him. And I feel like as much as Robert Williams is a great defender, everything else, like to stay just fully in front, it just looked bad. Like it's not anything to do with Rob. It just looked bad from Jimmy's side. Like it didn't look like his usual force that he kind of goes with on a drive and everything. And from there, like his aggression level was down last night. He wasn't attacking the paint like he was. I think that's a lot of credit to Robert Williams, but yeah, like he's hampered. Ty Lue said it best a couple years ago during his press conference. They asked about injuries. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's playing. And that's kind of what this series feels like. Obviously, not everybody's playing, but everybody's hurt on both sides of these teams. Hero missing last night's game is sneaky huge for Miami because this is a team that struggles not struggles offensively, but they really just rely on shooting and shot creation from, Jimmy and Lowry and everything. They don't have like the Celtics have Tatum and Brown who can go get their own bucket like at pretty much all times, except we gotta talk about Jaylen Brown, man. The Jaylen Brown experience is fucking ridiculous. And I love him, I love him, but it's just been crazy this whole time. But Hero is a guy that even if the shot's not falling and everything else, he's really been able to get to his spot still, like against the Celtics in all these games, and get his looks at least. And they really missed that last night. And Oladipo obviously filled in and he was really the only sign of life from that team, which is a whole other subplot. Like there's so many different little storylines within this series that are interesting. But that's what worries me about the Heat the most is just lack of scoring and lack of shot creation. And the way the Celtics have been playing, it feels like the Celtics are shooting themselves in the foot more than anything else. Like you look at game 3, 24 turnovers. Like that's self-inflicted as much as it is anything else. So it really feels like they're in control of this series, even though it's tied at 2-2, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, this series as a whole is just super hard to get a grasp on. And your last point about, them just kind of shooting themselves in the foot, the 2 losses, they have a combined 40 turnovers, and the 2 wins, they have a combined 16 turnovers. So, it just comes down to the simple fact of when they take care of the ball, they win, and when they don't, they don't. And I probably think that's going to be what we see moving forward too. Like you mentioned,
gotta be
the Heat are good at what they're good at, and they're gonna play hard, and they're gonna rely on their main guys. And if Butler's banged up, then it's a golden opportunity for the Celtics. And who knows if Hero misses another one, that's even more golden opportunity. Like I don't think they can let another game slip in this series because, yes, I do like our chances of winning 2 of the next 3. But if it does go 7, it's in Miami. Jimmy Butler, is going to be all sorts of motivated. Like this Heat scares me the most is if it's their backs are against the wall and Jimmy Butler's at home in a win-or-go-home situation. That's when I'll be most scared of this Heat team. If you can grab a win in Miami tomorrow night, probably close it out at home, but if not, they haven't lost 2 times in a row in these playoffs, and they've really haven't done it much the whole second half of this NBA season, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So, I like our chances there, but yeah, it's just such a strange series, dude. And I do want to touch on the Jaylen Brown because I don't know if I think I texted you guys in the group chat, but Jaylen Brown had the sloppiest 40-point game I've ever seen in game 3.
That's true.
Like looking up and seeing him with 40, like his actual shots and like his shot creating and his drives to the hoop were all incredible. But people forget during that same third quarter that he was lighting it up, he also had like 6 turnovers in 1 quarter. I don't know if it's like the moment's getting to him or what, or if he's trying to do too much when Tatum's not on the court or what it is, but like yes, he's been a guy who hasn't always had the tightest handle, but I've never really seen him be this sloppy with the basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was jarring in game 3, like you said, like the fact that it was such a two extremes. Like you literally watched him get ripped by Oladipo back to back or whatever it was in a couple different possessions. It was just, it's a strange experience, and they need him. Like they need him and Tatum. We haven't had. I don't think that game 2 they both really went off, right? Or game 2. We haven't really had the game where they're both firing, and you need that late in this series anyways. Like this is now we're in literal like nitty gritty, like this is the moments like you're waiting for as a basketball fan, player, everything. Game 5, game 6, game 7 of a conference finals tie series. Like these are literally the biggest moments you could ask for as a basketball player. So which guy and how much are these Celtics stars going to step up? Is it going to be is Tatum going to be effective all 2-3 games? Is Brown going to be effective all 2-3 games? You know what? This is a big defining moment for them and for Jimmy too. I mean, and Bam. Lowry's already proven his worth. He's a champion, and he's not the guy that he should be the third guy on this Heat team anyway. So I'm looking at the top 2 for both these guys. I think it's going to form a lot of NBA casual opinions over the summer, depending on what happens in these 3 games. Like if Jimmy Butler pulls this off, Jimmy Butler and Bam and the Heat pull this off, there's going to be a lot of people talking crazy about Jimmy Butler. Like there's going to be a lot of people putting him in top 10, top 5 territories. How did he get back to the finals again with it, blah, 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 all this stuff. And if the Celtics go, people are going to be talking crazy about Jason, even crazier than we've already heard about Jason.
Yeah.
It's a huge like narrative forming moment, which I want to just make note of, because either way out of this series, it's going to get spun, I think, a little bit too extreme. But this is legacy talk, man. Like these are the games that define legacies. These are the games that if one of these teams has a terrible collapse or something terrible happens the next couple games, we're going to talk about it, not just for a week, but like for years, because you get to this moment, you got to maximize it. That being said, I think that Jason Tatum again has proven that he is ready to come at this and be ready for this moment. He hasn't had a back-to-back bad games. He hasn't been inconsistent like that really all playoffs. He's really had the one bad game in each series. Already had that in game 3. I'm expecting a lot out of him. And then when you look at it on the flip side, I mean, we don't know what Jaylen Brown's going to do. Like we could sit here and talk about Jaylen Brown, but who knows? No one knows who's showing up tomorrow night. It might be good JB, might be bad JB. You literally can tell within like the first 5 minutes. Like last night, I could tell it was going to be a bad game within the first 5 minutes, even though they were cooking. Like he had the one possession, everything was flowing nice, and he pulled the ball back out and went ISO, and that's where it started. I was like, not good.
Turnover,
not a good start, not a good start. It wasn't a turnover. Well, he did. There was a turnover early too, but he just pulled up like a deep 3 and it like circled out or whatever. And I was like, that's it. I was like, if that shot's not hitting and he's trying to do this shit early in the game, like it's not gonna go. Like you could just tell with him. And then the last thing I'll say about the player wise is Bam, who I'm gonna bring this up. I shared this with you guys earlier. Shout out Dan Devine on the Ringer, because this stat is nuts about Bam and Robert Williams. I mean, look at that. Just the splits between Time Lord on the court and off the court, the games that he's played, the minutes that he's played against Bam. The biggest jarring thing that you look at here is the field goal attempts. Like Bam is deliberately not being as aggressive offensively when Robert Williams is on the floor. 5.4 per 36 when he's on, and 13.4. 8 more shots with one man on and off the court. And the plus minus obviously is jarring there too. 30-something point difference swing there. Bam's got to figure out a way to be effective if the Heat want to win this series, like against Robert Williams. The whole team, they were afraid to go into the paint last night. Like Jimmy and Bam did not want to touch the paint. And Rob's not even full strength. Like that's the crazy part. Yeah. Is that man, you could tell he's still pretty hampered by that knee, and he's still having this much of an effect. So it's crazy because we haven't seen the Celtics team really full strength at all this playoffs. I think we were talking about this last night. Maybe one of those Milwaukee games, we'd have to go back and look, that everybody played, but it's still not even full strength because that was Rob, working his way back in and everything. So to be in this position favored to move on to the NBA Finals without having your team be healthy. It's all good things, but 2 more games to finish the job over this next week or 5 days. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, real quick before we move on here, the Bam versus Time Lord. I mean, the stats are just wild in itself, but I think it ties into and is an important piece of what you were talking about before that which is these guys' legacies. I feel like obviously Bam's young. He's still getting better. I think he's a fine player. I think he's a great player actually, but people do talk crazy about Bam. People are saying like top 3 center in the league, one of the most versatile guys in the league. Outside of what was that game? Game 3 was Bam's huge game, right? The first game in Boston. Outside of that game 3, he's pretty much been non-existent. I mean, for a guy who's talked about as highly as he is, I mean, Al Horford last night, yeah, he didn't have as many points as Bam. I think Al took 2 or 3 shots maybe, but he outplayed Bam like crazy, and he's 35 years old. I think outside of game 3, Al's outplayed him every game in this series, and that's a 35-year-old Al Horford. This is supposed to be who is the Celtics' 4th, 5th option, maybe. Bam Adebayo is supposed to be the Heat's second option. Like, of course, Tyler Hero is probably their second best scorer, but he comes off the bench. Bam needs to be that guy for Jimmy. He's only done it once in this series. If Rob Williams misses again next game, that's a golden opportunity for him, and he better show up for the Miami Heat because you have a banged up Lowry, you have a banged up Butler. Hero may miss again. They need Bam. They start 2 undrafted guys. Like it's Bam or bust for the Heat for me.
I agree, and you shouldn't be counting on, in my opinion, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, like those guys. Like they're gonna hit. Obviously, we talk about role players hitting shots at home better off. Maybe they'll look better. Maybe one of these guys is gonna pop off and have like the 25-point game or something like that. But yeah, like Bam, your stars need to be stars when it gets to the conference finals, and they just didn't even look like they were interested in trying to be aggressive last night. And maybe they were just looking at it as a situation where once it went down, it was just like, and they kind of fought. They didn't really fight back at all. Like the Celtics in game 3 fought all the way back, and then it was just they ran out of gas. Literally, they got down to 1 point, ended up a 9-point game, I think, by the end of it, or whatever. I think 109-100 was the score of game 3, right? It was the same score.
I think it was a 6-point difference, so 109, 103 maybe.
Oh, okay. It was 109-100 the other night with Warriors Mavs. I thought they had the same score back-to-back days. I was like, that's really weird. But yeah, like that team fought back, and the Heat did not. Like the Heat were seemed like they were just willing to take their lumps and go back tied 2-2 with 2 home games. But I don't know. It just seemed very it was very worrisome last night's performance just because of the way those guys looked, aggressiveness and just health wise.
If Oladipo wasn't a thing last night too, this is a 40-point game.
And shout out Victor Oladipo too, because it's amazing to see him back and effective like he is after the horrible injury luck he's had too.
He's probably been their most consistent player in this series.
Really, yeah.
Between defending the Jays every other possession, and then he's kind of been doing his thing offensively as well.
And he didn't even play game 1. That's the crazy. Like Jimmy had the big game, and whatever happened, and then Jimmy got hurt. Or I think he came in game 2 a little bit, and then game 3 Jimmy got hurt, and Oladipo was in there for him right away and just took up all those minutes. So he's really taken advantage of the time that he's gotten when he's had the chance. But this is the thing about having a deep roster too in the playoffs. And the Celtics have like 7-8 guys they're pretty much going to. And it's basically been 7 because of the injuries. But you got a team with like 10, 11 guys. What if 6 of them aren't doing shit? How do you it's really difficult to decide which guys you're going to instill the trust in then after, because what if you're wrong and you trust Eric Spoelstra in that situation? But that's what it comes down to when you have so many guys. Is it's really understanding like who's ready for this moment and who isn't, and what's the right mix we really need out there. And I think that the Heat are still struggling with that, and especially defensively. Like they tried to run a zone last night. When you're running a zone, that's when you really don't have answers to anything. and you're just
Don't
asking the
have
Celtics to hit
answers.
shots, and then they hit the shots. That's the thing.
I was gonna say you can't run a zone when Peyton Pritchard's on the court, or anyone that's that good of a 3-point shooter is basically what I'm getting at. That's what beats a good zone, is having shooters and knowing where to beat the zone. You have a guy at the foul line and you have shooters on the wings, and you beat the zone immediately with quick decisions.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. And I kind of like the depth thing that you brought up, because that is a thing that people mention in favor of Miami every time we talk about this series. And I gave them that benefit of the doubt coming in too. I'm like, wow, we do pretty much have White, Williams, and Pritchard as our bench, and this series have had to start Williams or White most of the time,
And
because
Tice
we're
too, even.
yeah, because we're missing Rob or Smart or both of them. Or Horford at the beginning of the series too. So it's like our bench is our guys who are starting, or they just kind of have to be there. Whereas Miami, they do have these guys, but like you said, I mean, and it's funny, the broadcast said it last night. I can't remember who was on which side, if Mark Jackson was saying it or if it was Van Gundy saying it, but someone was like, oh, you don't want to let Duncan Robinson hit all these open threes because he might be hot next game. I think it was Jeff Van Gundy was like, I think Boston would love if Duncan Robinson is on the court, and if the Jays are out there, like that's a matchup nightmare. Like, let him keep hitting these shots. If Duncan Robinson's on the court, the Celtics are going to see that as barbecue chicken and just attack him. So, sometimes having a deep bench, yeah, you have guys that can score. That's great, but they have to be able to do everything in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, we'll see.
Let's see if Spoken push the right buttons tomorrow night. Game 5. Man, this is going to be a fun little Wednesday, Friday here, depending on how Game 5 goes. Either you're going to be feeling nice going into Friday, a nice long weekend regardless, or Thursday and Friday are going to be the longest 2 days of your life. So just prepare for that. I don't want to put any pressure on you. I just want you to be ready to go, know what you're getting into going into tomorrow night. I was antsy yesterday. I was on DDZ with Slick yesterday and telling him how I was antsy all day Monday. So I don't even know like how you guys, like, today felt so much better just for me, like mentally, for you guys. So I can't even imagine how you're feeling, especially you recovering from your COVID out on the injured reserve there. It's got to have been a whirlwind week. But let's get into a series that's stressing out the birthday boy, some guy named Steve. Happy birthday, Stevie.
Yeah, happy birthday, Stevie.
Hopefully, we're going to do tomorrow's headlines today right now first. I'm ripping this from, I think this is from Colin Cowherd. He does this all the time. One of my favorite little bits that he does. I think it's a sweet, though. I think tomorrow's headline is Splash Bros are back, officially back. I'm not a good headline writer. I need some more time to set this up. But the Splash Bros back in the finals, I think, is the headline from tonight. This Mavs team, honestly, I'm not even going to come after the Mavs because it's nothing that the Mavs are doing. I think the Warriors are just so well coached and are just can rely on all these situations they've been in together. And then when you get a performance like Wiggins had on whatever night it was, Sunday night, it's exactly what you imagined when they traded for him a couple years ago. Like when the Russell trade for him happened, you're like, best case scenario, Wiggins is basically a younger, more athletic, probably not as good defensively Iguodala. Like Iguodala earlier in his career, kind of like that kind of athleticism, not as smart. I wouldn't say as good of a playmaker for sure. Wiggins not as near as a playmaker, but that kind of role, him hitting that spot in this Warriors, and he proved his worth in one of the biggest games of the season. It's just been, they just really have answers for everything. Steve Kerr is so smart. He's pushing all the right buttons for them. We haven't even seen the Curry explosion. We really have it. This hasn't. The thing about the Warriors we've all talked about for so long is the 3-point explosions, everything else, whatever. That's just not them anymore. Like everybody shoots threes in the league. They're grinding you out. They are such a smart defensive team that they have answers for pretty much everything Luka is trying to do. They're letting Luka basically get his. which is my favorite strategy of any superstar. Is just let them go. Luka, you want to get 50 points tonight? Go for it. Nobody else is going to do shit. And you saw it manifest in that game 3. I just don't see a lot of hope for the Mavs, and I think the Warriors are one of those teams that is out for blood no matter what. Like, they're not going to be lacking intensity tonight. They're not going to come out slipping at all. They're going to want to get this done and get rest, because they know that this other series, like the Warriors could have, if they win tonight, the finals don't start till next Thursday. They could have 9 days off of rest in between games, which is insane. So I think it's done. I think it's a sweep. Some Splash Bros headline. I'll think of something tomorrow, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I think you could absolutely be correct, but I just can't see the Mavs going out this way. I'm also kind of pissed that they won that game 7 against Phoenix so strongly, so dominant, such like
got us
just
hyped up.
Yeah, just such a beast win against the Phoenix Suns, and then they come out, they're down 3-0 already to the Golden State Warriors. I mean, it's just ugly. We got to feel for Luka. I can't see them going out in a sweep, though. I just think that the season they've had, the rally they had in the middle of the year after the trade deadline, the defensive adjustments that they made throughout the season, Jason Kidd really having a great coaching year. I think the supporting cast steps up, because there's no way they can play as bad as they did last game. And, you know, although they're down 3-0, they do, you know, have the advantage of being at home one more game before it goes back to Golden State. So I think Golden State wins this series 4-1, but I think the Mavs can grab one tonight, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, I think that either way, I don't think this is coming back to Dallas. Nah, like, this is the last night.
That's
in
what
Dallas.
I'm saying.
Yeah, Luka can have all the beer he wants in San Francisco after Game 5. He can do whatever he needs to do. Yeah, it's been a weird week for players potentially drinking before games. I don't know. Did you hear about the Florida Panthers allegedly out in strip clubs till 3 a.m. on Monday night? And
I did.
It didn't look like it affected them last night, except the fact that they couldn't score a goal. So maybe that was part of the problem. But Luka, hopefully not doing that right now. Hopefully he's not been having any adult beverages in the city of Dallas before this game, because they need him. They need him to put we're talking about 40 points again. Like, sorry, Luka, you're gonna have to do it again. Like, you're gonna just have to put that up and hope for the best. I like what you mentioned about the Suns, because all year, like, everybody was, we need Warriors Suns. That's the series everybody needs and everything, and they just fell apart. Little news from Bleacher Report today, little free agency talk, is that Ayton is looking at other suitors and stuff, which is something we speculated all year long. Atlanta, Portland, and Detroit were the main suitors that I read about earlier, with some other potential teams in there. So it just feels like that team just kind of imploded on us, and that's what led us to this, what we thought could be a fun series, but has not been in any way.
Yeah. And then you have, I have this here. Draymond said they're one win away from the conference finals. That doesn't mean shit to him. That I feel like the Warriors do. Like, they're so spoiled in the best way possible. Like, I don't even hate the Warriors. Like, you have to love and like respect what they've done. They already had their dynasty. People were writing them off. Clay's injuries. Draymond missed time. Steph was gone. They kind of had like this little hiatus. And now all of a sudden, everything's aligning. Draymond saying it doesn't mean shit till they get to the finals. Now, all of a sudden, Iguodala is set to return for the finals. The infamous finals MVP is coming back for another finals run.
Has he played all year? That man's been sitting on the bench all year, just getting ready for 7 games.
I saw on Twitter, someone was like, this dude has the sickest job in the world.
He really does. Remember when he was on Memphis and he was just golfing in San Francisco every day, like putting Instagram posts? Like, he's getting paid $20 million by this team to sit on a golf course all day. He really is lucky. Good for Iggy, man.
Yeah.
That's a come up.
But man, like, and it's crazy. Now I'm like, okay, are the Warriors gonna sweep now? I just said that Luka can't go out like this, but now I'm talking about how good the Warriors seem, and just basically all the things that are going right for them at the right time. Like you said, all the rest that they could potentially have, especially if Boston Miami goes to 7. Like, geez, I really hope that doesn't happen. As you know, as far as me being a Celtics fan, but I mean, I don't know what else do they want? Like, the Warriors have everything right now.
They're literally they're the new Spurs, which is what they've been trying to do, I guess, right? And there's always been the Curry Duncan comparisons, like not as a player, obviously, but just as a personality and that kind of thing. Kerr comes from the Popovich tree, has spent a lot of time with him and everything. That's what they feel like. Like they're just gonna make it work no matter what, and they've got the guys that are perfect. The stars are just perfectly set up to do that on this team. Like Steph, just watching Steph play, like. At any point, it's not anything new in this series. I'm not making any groundbreaking statements here or anything, but how unselfish she is, playing off the ball, running around screens with like the ferocity and force he does all game long. Like that man, the cardio on Steph Curry is his most underrated attribute, because he is darting around the court all day,
stops moving,
and never stops moving. And half the time he's not even touching the ball on these plays. Like it's Draymond initiating and working something else out. But just that's their whole team. It's all this movement. Ryan Russillo made a good point about Wiggins the other day, and just like, so you really think like we're gonna just cut, and maybe you're not gonna get the ball and all this stuff. And that was the big worries about Wiggins not touching the ball. But like all these dudes have bought into the offense. It's all motion based.
Oh yeah.
All these beautiful back cuts you see that don't even end up into anything, but it's just so much stress on the defense, and especially with a guy like Curry. Like Curry hasn't even popped off yet this series, really this playoffs, really this season. He really hasn't had an explosive, like there was not a lot of explosive like 50.
Yeah, it wasn't like last year where we had like the 60 bombs and like 40s every other week.
Yeah, like, and he hasn't needed to. That's the thing, because they're just so well coached, so solid. Yeah. But saying all that, even if they win tonight, win Thursday, win Saturday, whatever the series actually ends, I still think they're going to be underdogs going into the next series, regardless of who it's against. And that's probably exactly the spot that the Warriors want to be into.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I think the Warriors are going to be scary in the finals, no matter who they play. I don't want to look ahead and say that it's going to be the Celtics, but that's going to be one hell of a matchup if that's the case. Did you happen to see Luka's comments about, them kind of being down 0-3 back against the wall?
No.
Him basically saying, like, I'm 23, I just made it to my first NBA conference finals this year, kind of saying, like, regardless of what happens, I can go back.
He's waving the white flag. Yeah, he's waving the white flag.
Yeah,
he's
well,
like,
that's
listen, guys, I'm cool.
Him saying that, like, how do you feel about that? Do you like that? Do you think he should, remain confident, or is he kind of just being a realist at this point?
Nah, I enjoy the perspective. I like when athletes give like an honest perspective on it. That's what we're all thinking about Luka. Like that's what the narrative's gonna be. It's like he's 23 and this is what he did.
Thinking.
With a team,
like, this guy sucks.
With a team that is clearly like not undermanned. This is a good basketball team. Let's not get it twisted. Obviously missing Tim Hardaway, we talked about a little bit before the show. Seeing him on the bench just sucks, because I feel like he could have a big impact, whether it's defensively or just swinging games offensively. Like he's a guy that can pop off for 25 points on any given night. But there has never been the guy with him. You thought it was Porzingis. It never worked out, clearly, for a lot of different reasons with Porzingis. And there's not another guy on this roster that's to the level of, Curry's got. He's flanked by co-stars. Clay is not the same guy as he used to be, but he's still Klay Thompson, still one of the best shooters of all time. Draymond, speaking of those Chuck clips, the triple single, someone put a triple single montage in there of every time Chuck's called out Draymond for a triple single, which is just classic content. Yeah. But Draymond, obviously, we know his impact just as basically their point guard and defensively.
Wiggins is a young 27.
Yo, how is Wiggins only 27, bro? I feel like he's been in my life forever.
What happens like when this is just Wiggins and Jordan Poole's team? Is it just going to be a whole new dynasty with those two?
And Kuminga, who might be the best out of all of them still. Like that's the thing about Kuminga too, is like we talk about a ball of clay. Like that kid is a ball of clay, literally in the best possible learning environment in all of basketball. The Warriors are they're the Spurs. We got him for like 10 more years, and Curry's not done for at least like 7 years. Like, he could be running around as long as he keeps his cardio up and keeps his jumper, his jumper's never going anywhere. So he'll be able to play as long as he wants to. Yeah. We're not getting away from the Warriors anytime soon.
Get used to that royal blue and yellow, folks.
Yeah. I'm just happy that it's not going to be against my team in the finals. And you guys potentially get to experience it. I've said it to Brett multiple times. I'm like, listen, you're gonna love the Curry in the finals experience, because even though he's not at the tip of his powers like he was, 6 years ago, everything else, and that also had the Durant factor, which was just even more terrifying. It's still terrifying seeing Oracle, seeing the yellow on the court, hearing Mike Breen yell "bang" at the first big three. One of them is gonna hit. It's an experience for sure.
So in 2016, it was 3-1, correct?
It was, yeah.
Like, it's just such a different Warriors team this time around, though, and obviously they're not going against LeBron, and it's a conference finals and not a finals. But I wonder if there's any Dallas fans out there who actually still have like a glimmer of hope. They're like, all right. We grabbed tonight, and then it's 3-1, just like 2016 finals were. And then we got this.
Go ahead.
I saw a fake quote from Reggie Bullock today on Twitter. I fell for it. It was like that fake Hoop Central page, which basically they just like made like a parody out of Hoop Central. And it was just like Reggie Bullock, and it was like, we're not losing another game from here on out. And like, I clicked on the tweet, and I was like, damn it.
That's
I was ready to throw it into the doc for the show, and I was like, what is this man talking about? He just shot 0 of 10 from last game. Now he's saying some shit like that. I honestly wished it was true.
One of the big things that Warriors fans will point to, and is probably the biggest break in history, I believe it was a Scott Foster induced thing as well, was the Game 5 nut punch from Draymond Game 4, the Game 4 nut punch that got him his final technical foul to get him suspended for Game 5, which was obviously a huge thing in that game to spur that comeback. But hey, Draymond, don't be a fucking maniac for don't get 17 technicals all year. That year he was really on one. Like, I think that was like peak Draymond chaos. Like, I feel like I guess the peak Draymond chaos is probably him screaming at Kevin Durant, "We don't need you" on the sideline. That was probably the peak. But I was like, damn, like, this man is gonna get suspended in the NBA Finals, and then the Undertaker shirt, and the rest is history after that. But that's definitely a big moment. I believe it was Scott Foster induced, who, shout out, haven't mentioned his name yet again, but shout out the extender, making it happen. 24 free throws, free throws in the first half. Whoo, man, he just never fails. Always hits.
I didn't even know how to word it yet last night, so this is why I didn't tweet it, but I literally almost like extended my hand to Heat fans last night, because I think the Celtics were winning that game regardless, because the Heat literally didn't show up. But it was bad. It was bad officiating. Like, I don't think there should ever be that much of a disparity, especially in the conference finals, where we know that both teams are very, very good. It's one thing if it's a regular season game and one team's just taking it to the hoop at will and dominating. I didn't really think that was the case last night. There was also a lot of off-ball fouls that just happened to be bonus. The Celtics getting into the bonus and getting free throws that way. So if you're a Heat fan out there listening and you're hating on Boston Celtics fans, listen, I get it. I think this whole series has been pretty poor officiating as far as consistency goes. So, if you're a Heat fan and you're mad about that, I think you have a right to be. But yeah, Scott Foster put up one hell of a stat line last night.
He came through.
Yeah.
He had been sitting on the bench. They were just waiting on his moment where they knew they needed him. And once you saw it in the morning, we were talking about it all day yesterday. Once I saw it, it's like nerve-wracking, because it's like, chaos is coming. But as a Celtics fan, it was good chaos coming for you guys at home. We're getting the league was basically like, we need a Friday night Game 6. Warriors are about to sweep. We need some television ratings. Let's get this cracking here, and we've got it now. Also, a little worried about the last thing I'll note here is a potential Game 7 will probably be at 3:30 on Sunday, which is just I just don't like. I'm very scared of the 3:30 afternoon Game 7 start again. But it definitely will be. The Bucks game was like, there's no doubt in my mind they'll put it at 3:30.
Yep, and I can't go to this one because it will not be in Boston.
No, it'll be in Miami. Tickets might be cheaper in Miami.
True,
it might be, but
that's the only thing that it would worry me if Celtics Heat goes to Game 7, because ultimately it is on the road. It is in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics fans have been traveling like crazy to Miami though. After Game 2, in that 25-point victory,
I'm interested to see tomorrow night what that crowd looks like.
Yeah, I bet it'll be motivated. I think Miami's going to come out. I mean, they kind of have to. I think both teams are looking at that Game 5 as a must win, in my opinion.
For sure. I think it's Boston in 6. I'm sticking with my prediction before the series. I think they
need to hear that.
I think they're just better, man. Like they're just a better team overall. Like
they just need to show it. They need to prove it to themselves.
Their slip ups are what is causing them to be at this point in the series, like the turnovers, everything else. So
yeah,
we'll see. Hopefully Marcus Smart's back too.
I don't know, how much you have for either of these series left, but I just thought of this. I want to get your opinion. Rank these 4 players.
Okay.
Steph, Luka, Tatum, Jimmy.
Wow, it's the only hard part is gonna be picking Tatum and Luka right now. I'm going Steph, Tatum, Luka, Jimmy. Steph is still my number 1, even though he's definitely fading out of that. Maybe by next year, even full season, it's kind of flipped between those 3. But I'll still give the old head the lead there. But I'll put Tatum ahead of Luka. I've always liked Tatum a little more than Luka. It hasn't really borne out until this postseason, where I feel like people are actually considering that. But that's where I'm at. Yeah,
I actually think that's my same list, and it is a defensive thing, because I think there's no telling that when you watch Luka, he's a better playmaker.
If he was a defensive force, how different is this series? Like if he's not getting attacked in screens, if he's actually like an impact defender, I feel like it's a big difference. I'm with you there.
And then, you look at the series that Boston has already gone through, and Tatum's, picking up Bam and switches. He's guarding Jimmy Butler a lot of the time. And he already locked up, KD for a series, and then had to deal with Giannis for most of the series too. So, yeah, I agree with that list. I'd probably put mine the same.
Look at that. Good synchronicity to end on for us there.
Yes.
All right, that'll do it for Happy Hour Hoops. We got Game 4 later. Warriors, Mavericks, potentially a sweep. Hopefully not for Stevie. Hopefully Luka pulls one out at least.
Hopefully for all of us. Let's
all of us.
These conference finals a little more exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, more basketball.
Let's all be the extender. Let's all be Scott Foster and hope for more games.
What is our refs tonight? Do we got at least like Tatum or Mark Tatum or Tony Brothers or something? I
haven't seen Tony Brothers in a while. I'd be surprised if he wasn't in the mix.
We're gonna end on the NBA refs. My favorite thing to do is see who the refs are. Plus, sometimes they don't post it too. Like we're just like surprised. It's Zarba. Oh, there's chicanery is gonna be about tonight. Zach Zarba is Scotty Jr. He's getting primed up for that role. So yeah, there's gonna be some Luka's gonna have 26 free throws or something stupid.
I was gonna say tonight. You could probably hammer Luka's points, rebounds, assists. That's probably both.
How about the worst beat in the history with Rob Williams getting hurt at 12 and 9 on the double yesterday? That was just I wasn't even mad because it was such a long. It was plus 700 anyways. So like it's supposed to be long odds,
but it looked like
for it to go out like that. Yeah, halfway through the game, that was tough. And Slick told me, he said that he was over 7.5 for both, regularly were both his things. So I could have just taken the nice, easy overs for each of them. And he had 12 and 9 would have been good. Those boosts, man, fucking FanDuel. They always know. They know.
Do. Vegas always knows.
So let's leave on this. What's your confidence level going into tomorrow night?
I'm fairly confident. I think Smart will be back, so that's a plus. Rob's up in the air. I mean, after last night, he said his knee felt good, which I don't know if people can believe
I
him
think
because
he just hit it. It looked like he just hit it like on that exact play, like that he got hurt in the second half. Like he crashed into Bam or something, whoever it was down low,
I think
and
it might
that
have been
and
Jimmy.
and it's a bone bruise, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a bruise from Giannis on top of whatever was wrong with it too. So it was probably just like in pain, and then Ime's is like, "Fuck it, like we don't need this guy the rest of the
Yeah.
night, anyways."
If Rob plays, I'm pretty much counting Game 5 as a lock, and then I feel confident. I feel confident going in either way. I mean, the series has been wild, but we've proven. I mean, we have a 25-point win already in this same building that they're going tomorrow night. I think, you know, Tatum's, we've already seen the worst he's going to look. I think once he gets past those bad games, we saw it in the Milwaukee series, then he explodes and he kind of continues to explode. I think he'll have a hot hand. And I think Jalen is, you know, he's a guy who's hard on himself and is strict and everything. And he pays attention to his game. He works on his craft. I think Jalen's going to have a bounce back too. So I'm feeling confident. Let's go. I'll tag along to your Celtics in 6 there.
If we're going with the Jaylen Brown experience, tomorrow has to be the good game. And so I feel like tomorrow's the Jays game. Tomorrow feels like the Jays
60
game.
combined.
60
Wrap it
combined.
up. Come on.
Come home Friday night in Boston.
Yeah.
You'll have a nice Friday night then. That would be amazing. Going to the NBA Finals on a Friday night. Let's hope for it. We're pulling for it here at Happy Hour Hoops. That'll do it here. For Donovan Holden, this is your friend Jake Mike. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Subscribe to Happy Hour Hoops wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy the games tonight. Stay hydrated. And next week we'll be talking NBA Finals.
Ooh.
Wow, that's crazy.
Later, guys.
See ya.